and welcome to this lesson, and I'm so excited to post it on YouTube. I'm filming it live, so I'm narrating while I'm working, and I just thought maybe this is just a little bit better way for me to stay in the flow, but also it's a little bit daunting when you do it on YouTube. There's so many things happening, and also the light with my camera that I'm using is just so much better. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be doing the drawing. I have an image on my photos that I want to use, and it's this one. You can see it, and this is what we're going to be painting. So I'm just using this image as an inspiration. It probably won't come out like that, but we're going to try. And also I am just making a mixture of turquoise ink and black ink. So this is the two inks I'm using. Let me just focus my camera. Here you can see turquoise and black. Now we're going to be painting our image. So I'm just using a brush, and I added a little bit of water to this, and this is how I like to start my paintings off, because the white canvas can be so intimidating. It's important for you to prime your canvas with gesso, and I will talk about that in the live video, which you can find just before or after this one. So I'm looking at my image and I'm just painting what I'm seeing. It might not exactly be what is on the photo, but that's okay. This is just a inspiration, right? So I'm just taking inspiration from the photo. Okay, you can see I raised my canvas slightly because I'm filming it, so it's easier for me just to keep it flat. But you can put it on an easel. You can actually put it on a table. It really doesn't matter where you put your canvas. The only thing I'm saying is, as long as you're painting, you know. I'm just trying to get the outline of this flower more or less right, and then I'm just roughly filling in, you know, the details. I will look at the photo more when I paint so that I can add more detail to it, but this is just to figure out my composition and exactly what I want to do with this painting. Okay, another important thing that I just want to mention is that I actually have a painting class on iHeart Studio that's on sale now for $25, which is a phenomenal discount. And I teach 6 paintings in that class. And in that class, I actually have a very cool way for you to get your so I give you the drawings, like I'm painting here, and you can just print them on paper, and then I show you a very cool way to translate them on the canvas. So I really take a lot of the guesswork away from this whole thing, and it makes it a little bit less intimidating, because this painting part can be a little bit hard, especially if you don't have a lot of experience in art and drawing, and you know, then it can be a little bit hard. So this one has bigger petals. And then this is the orange flower there. I'm painting that orange flower there. And then it has these leaves that's just coming out. And I'm just painting them a little bigger as well. Okay, so this is more or less, oh, okay, and I love these flowers that's actually coming out underneath here. And there's some red flowers there. But you know what, I want something just a little bit higher up. Okay, so I really want to paint this flower. So there's a few, and I think I'm just going to do it here. So So, you know what, this is really just a maybe sometimes even for me, a combination of images that I use. I'm looking for, almost like when you arrange your own flowers, right? You want to have like the right arrangement for your specific needs. And that's what I'm looking for here. Okay, make sure that you don't put your paintbrush in your tea. Okay, what I usually like to do is I just like to paint my horizon more or less with a ruler, even if it's not perfect. It doesn't matter. And now you can really have a little bit of fun. The moment you tilt your painting, you can see there's a lot of paint that just want to flow. Okay, so now I'm just going to let this dry a little bit and then we'll go ahead and paint some more. Okay, so once this is more or less dry, it doesn't have to be 100% dry, but just a little bit. I like to paint my background. I like just again, the blank page can be so intimidating. So for this painting, I'm going to use cerulean blue, which is one of my favorite colors. And I'm just going to use a big brush, a big soft brush, and I'm just going to paint the background. Okay, so I will be using a little bit more water with my paint. I like to paint on paper plates because that way, you know, because I'm a messy painter, so for me it's just a way to control my environment a little bit better because I can just throw it away. Okay, so I'm just painting with a little bit of cerulean blue, and this is just a wash to take away a little bit of the white background. And again, if you lift your painting up slightly, you will see you'll get a bit of a drip, and I like that. I just love that a lot. So I added a little bit more water to my brush, and I'm just painting this side with more water, and it's fine, you know. The canvas I'm using is just a cheaper version that I bought from Michael's, and I bought a pack of them because I just want to, I call them practice, my practice canvases, and this is also what I use when I teach a class to give to the students, so it's just a lot more, it makes sense for me to just use them. And then I'm just going to paint my background very quickly. It's not neat, it's not precise, it's just to get rid of that intimidating white canvas. Okay, so already you can see it's not as intimidating anymore. There's this lovely wash happening, and what I like to do, sometimes I just like to leave some of the areas. We'll see where this one goes. But now you can let this dry, and then we'll go on to the next step. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to do this specific lesson live on YouTube, because there's so many stages where you want to wait for the paint to dry, where you have to look for paint or mix paint. So it just makes a little bit more sense for me to do it this way. But I really hope that you paint with me. Okay, so once this is a little bit drier, I'll come back and then we'll start painting our flowers, and I'll tell you my whole process there. Okay, so what I like to do when I paint my flowers is I mix my pinks and my colors first, and this is basically what you'll need. So I go over this in the live video where I just want to show you all the colors that I use, but you want different shades of red, because when you mix them with white you get different shades of pink. So I'm just going to create a few different shades of pink, and I call them flower colors, and then I'm just going to start painting. You know, I don't over analyze it, I don't make it more difficult than it is. You know, I just simplify it a lot, and I use a lot of paint out of the tube, but I like to mix paint as well, so it's okay if you mix your paint. The big thing is you want to use a lot of white paint, so I will probably just use a separate plate and just add a little bit of white and just see where this goes. Another thing that I like to do is use a lot of brushes, so I'll probably use quite a few brushes. Here's some more. I have a gazillion brushes because I like to use clean brushes all the time, and that way I don't struggle with, you know, mixing colors. And so if I look at my image and I look at this flower, it has a light yellow to it, so I'm just going to mix in a little bit light yellow, and I'm just going to start painting with this. So I used a fair amount of paint. I'm not afraid to use lots of paint, and the Liquitex Basics is not as opaque as the heavy body paints, but that's okay because that means that we can use a few layers. And then this flower as well has a lot of white to it, so I'm just mixing in a little bit more white, just adding a little bit more yellow, maybe just a slighter different shade. So I'm just going to scroll through, and there's my image. So this one is a lot more white actually, so I'm just going to use here. And I'm just gonna, okay, so my blue is not quite dry, but that's okay. Just gonna use a lot of paint here. What you can do is, I have a few of these cloths that I use as paint cloths, and I'm just going to dry it there so that it doesn't smudge too much. So you call this impasto, and that's why I like to use paint that has a little bit of body to it, and not just acrylic paint that is, you know, very watery or runny or liquidy. So I'm just going to leave that flower as it is. And now I'm just going to go back to this image, and I want to do this pretty pink. So I'm using a little bit of this lovely pink color. It's called medium magenta. It's this one, and I'm just mixing it in with my white paint. And again, just remember, this is just the first little layer of paint that you want to paint on your painting. We will come in and add more paint to it. It's a whole process. So, you know, you layer paint. Okay, so that flower, and then I'm just going to paint another flower and add a little bit more paint, more pink to it. And just for a slight different shade, I'm just adding a little bit of the rose pink, because I don't want all the paint to, all the colors to look the same. So that's what I'm doing here. And now I'm just going to paint this flower. So this paintbrush is getting too thick for me, so I just want a slightly thinner brush. And now I'm just painting. Just want to paint that flower, and then this one is also, now I just want to add a lot more yellow to this, and then also a little bit of pink, and then you get this beautiful, almost like a apricot color. Again, my bottom layer is not quite dry, but I'm always impatient, so that's not strange for me. And now I just want a lot more yellow, because I want to paint a few flowers that is a lot more yellow. And again, this is just the beginning, it's just the base. So painting with impasto paint. This is maybe the biggest reason why I love acrylic paint so much, is because it really dries quickly, and I don't have to wait a long time before I have to paint some more. Okay, this is too much red, but it's okay. I'll use it for another color. Maybe I'll add a little bit of white to it. You can get by with a lot, you don't have to use a lot of paint. You can actually, where's that flower? It's this one. It's orange. Okay. This one is also yellow. And I'll probably layer it with a different little bit of yellow here, and this one as well. Okay, and now I want a pretty orange, so what I'll do, I need more space, that's what I need. So this is too brown for me. This is not pretty enough. So let me just see if I can mix a proper orange. I don't like half empty tubes of paint. There you go. So again, I'm taking a new brush and I'm just going to use this new red with a little bit of yellow. And let's just make a pretty orange. So I'm just using a touch of, this is better. So the purer your red is, meaning that it's closer to cadmium red. So this is cadmium. The other reds were not cadmium, it was, oh wait, it is the same, but it doesn't look the same. Oh, I didn't use that red, sorry, I used this red. And this is the deep red. It's almost more like a alizarin crimson. And then this is the magenta. So, okay, so I just want to paint with orange. But now I need to mix more because I want, you can see how transparent this paint is. So I'm just going to use a lot more. This cadmium yellow is also a little bit transparent, but that's the thing with the, well, when you use a cheaper brand of acrylic paint, you won't have the opacity that the heavy body paints have. So I'm just going to paint nice and thick, and it's okay, it will dry, it will dry, and then all will be good in the world. So I just need a little bit of paint there, and then I just want a more pure yellow here as well. Okay, again using a new brush. I'm not kidding if I say I go through a lot of brushes. Maybe this is a good place to show you the difference. So this is the heavy body acrylic paint. So this is a professional grade paint, and it's a bit more expensive than the Liquitex Basics. But just let me show you the difference in opacity, which means the opacity is the amount of background that can shine through it. So when you paint with this one, and you can see how nothing gets through it. So it's very, very, very opaque, which is awesome if that is what you want. With this is very transparent, so you can see the drawing through it, right? So that's just a little bit of the difference between this doesn't let any light through, so it's really, really opaque. If you use it thickly, but you can use it as a wash as well, so then it will be quite transparent. So okay, so we're getting, don't leave your paint brushes in the palette, so remember to just keep on adding it to water and use a new paintbrush. Okay, so now I just want to paint with a different shade of pink. And I'm actually looking at my image, and you can see it's actually dark in the middle, but I'm going to just use this as a and I'm also going to maybe mix a little bit of the red, cadmium red, into this beautiful magenta, and it will give me a different shade of pink, a little bit of a darker pink. I'm careful when I paint with wet on wet, because you don't want the paint to mix. That's just one thing that I don't like. But unless you do it very intentional, like this, you know, you do it intentional, then it's something else, then it's different. So I go through the whole painting and I add my pinks and my yellows in different areas and different varieties, and you know, and then I go back. So this gives everything a chance to dry. But now I want to repaint. This is a little bit air dry now, so I'm just going to use a clean brush. And the reason why I also use a clean brush is because I don't like a wet brush. Sometimes I just want a dry brush, you know. So I just gonna mix in a little bit of yellow, and I want actually a little bit of a darker color here. So I'm mixing more yellow in. Ha! This is perfect. And now I'm just going to paint. And now I'm looking at my image, and I just want to more or less paint in the shadows of what I see. This just takes a little bit of practice. You know what? It takes practice, because when you paint and draw, it's actually an exercise in observation, right? So that is basically what you do when you paint, is you are looking and interpreting with your eye what you see, and that's just what you want to do. So it just takes a little bit of practice to do it. So don't be too frustrated with yourself if you don't get it right the first time. I'm just going to try something. I want to add a little bit of black ink to this light color. That is way too much. So I'm just going to pour this out. I just want to pour it out a little. And now I'm just going to mix in this little bit of gray with this dark color, and it looks like green now, but it's okay. I just want a little bit of a darker shade. No, this is not what I want. Okay, let's use a clean palette, and this is the one where I shook off that little bit of black paint, and this might be enough for what I want. So when I mix it in, a little bit more white, and again I'm just going to paint the shadows of what I see in there, because And I'm using quite a little bit of impasto paint because I want to just give this lovely tactile feeling of whatever this flower is. Okay, so painting in with a little bit of grey. It's actually a very lovely grey, and now I'm just painting in a little bit more detail than what I actually drew on. I'm not crazy about this flower, and I really want it to look like the one that I have the inspiration. So this is a very cool technique. I'm using my paint dropper, and I'm just going to paint with my paint dropper, you know, a little bit of the detail. You can also just add a little bit of paint to a palette and then use a small brush. So that's also cool. I'm just looking for a long, small brush. So, you know what? This brush might be a little bit thick, but it's okay. I'm looking for a smaller brush. Right, maybe this one will work better. Let's see. Okay. I love acrylic ink, and I love the way it just stands its own. You know, when you want to paint, like even now I'm painting over wet paint and you can still see it. So I'm just painting a little bit of the detail back, and then I'll probably just wait until this is a little drier, and then I'll go back into it. So that's okay for now. And let me just paint. And this is how I paint. Like, I love to work and rework and rework. So it's this whole process of, this is the only thing I don't like. So I should wait until this is just a little bit of air dry, and then I can paint more detail into it. So because when you paint wet on wet, it really becomes super it becomes dirty, and that doesn't look so good. So I would just wait. So I'm just going to give all my flowers chance. Wait, there's one more thing that I can do, and it's this flower. So again, I'm using a clean brush, and straight out of the tube, but mind you, I'll mix it in with a little alizarin crimson. Just gonna paint on this little flower. And when you paint a dark color over a light color, you just get this absolute gorgeous effect. So this is one thing that I love to do, is and the spaces in between I will paint with a little bit of dark color, like a light green or something, just to bind it all together. So okay, I can't remember what's happening there. Okay, so it's really this very white flower with the green. So let's see if we can reproduce it. going to use a little bit of white paint and a clean brush. Lots and lots of white paint. And a little bit of texture. There you go. Okay. This flower might also just need a little bit of white paint. Again, I might be a little hasty here painting where it's not quite dry. But I just do want to extend it a little bit on this side. Okay. And I think for now this is cool. But now this lovely violet is on here. And look what happens if I mix in a little bit of white with it. Like, this is like a magically beautiful color. And we cannot let this go to waste. So let's paint our background with it. And I'll probably paint over it again as well. But this is a stunning color. I just love this. And that's often what I do, is especially when I paint big paintings and I have beautiful color left over on my palette, I would just like just paint it. And then I'll just do a little bit on this side as well, just for balance. I love already how it's coming together. And again, this is just layers, layers and layers and layers and layers of paint. Okay, yeah, so okay, I'll just clean my brush here on this side. And then I'm just going to clean up my space a little, because next what I want us to do is we are going to paint our leaves. And once you put on the greens in this painting, it really starts to pop and come together. Okay, so we're still in the beginning phases of it, but it will progress very quickly once we start adding the green. And then once your impasto paint is a little bit air dry, we can go in and do a little bit more detail, you know, on your flowers. But this needs to air dry now for at least half an hour. Okay, so let me just focus my camera. So transparent Viridian Hue is one of my favorite colors, as well as the Hooker's Green. And then, you know, Phyllocyanine Green is really nice, as well as this deep green, and then also this brilliant yellow. So if you have like 3 or 4 colors of green, a darker color and a more yellowish green, you'll be good to go. It shouldn't be then you won't have a need for anything else. Like, you don't need a lot of green, just a little bit. And I'm just going to use this palette. It's dry, and I'm just going to squirt out a couple of colors. You can see how dark this hooker's green is. And this beautiful Viridian green. It's more of a transparent one, but I love it. And then a little bit of yellow, because I might want to add in a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white, because you just might too want white. And now we're just going to mix in our yellow. So with this beautiful what I like about this light yellow, this green, this green, lime green, it's one of those lovely colors to start off with, and you can actually layer it with detail, so you can paint darker detail on it. Okay, and then you might want to add a little bit more yellow to it, or even a little bit of white. And this, then you create a whole new color of green that you can paint with. Okay, don't paint in the wet paint there. You can also just mix in. So I'm using the same brush. It's okay. And here you can see I'm just using the colors straight up. I'm not even mixing it in. This is such a beautiful color. So the one thing with painting that I've realized early on is that I can use whatever colors makes me insanely happy. So this is just that beautiful Viridian green. And this is an ideal time to just go into the, into the flowers and just round it all together with a little bit of this dark color. You can even use the hooker green, which is also a beautiful dark color. It's even darker than the Viridian. Okay, so right now I'm just painting again, first layer, and I will go back and just let this air dry for a little bit, and then I will paint on a second layer and add more detail as I go. So now I'm just blending the paint on the canvas, which is okay. And just mixing in a little bit of this. Let's just make a new color of green. And then we can start painting into the flowers. So it's a good idea to wait a little, but sometimes you don't have to. Always except sometimes. Okay, and I really just want to clean up this little bit here. Okay, so what I'll do here is I will just clean it with my paint cloth in a way, because I really just want to clean it up and paint it properly, and then I will worry about the background. So there you go, that's better. You know, so this is how I just usually do my leaves. I just mix in colors, and I keep on mixing what's on my palette, making new colors, layering the you know, the colors, so that it's not the same everywhere. And then you can go in with a lot of detail later on and just paint even more detail, you know, on your painting. I'm too hasty. But anyway, you get the idea. And let this dry, and then we'll do another layer of the green, and then we'll start finishing our painting with our background. Okay, so it's not quite dry, but I want to just work a little bit more on the details here. And I'm doing it with this beautiful, again, this is Acrylic ink, and I'm just painting on the leaves with the paint dropper itself. So this is just one thing that I love to do, and I love just the color. This is phyllocyanine green. I don't know if you can see it, but I will talk about this in the live video as well. Phyllocyanine green, and then there's also this beautiful lime green, vivid lime green, and this is a fantastic color to add details with. So let me just show you. You can see how opaque this ink is, and how it shows up on a dark surface. It might dry slightly lighter, but that's fine. There you can see just the detail, how lovely this is. and you can just paint with it and you can draw with it. It's just the most beautiful it's rich, and it's just gorgeous. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this now. Let me just lift my painting a little and see if there's something that wants to run down. Not really. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish the painting. I want to do a little bit of detail on my flower pot. So what I'm going to use is just a stencil, and I'm going to use a makeup brush and a little bit of paint. So I'm just going to use a little bit of blue, this beautiful blue paint. It's called cerulean blue, even though it's a little darker than, and I'm just going to stencil through it. The canvas. The trick is not to have too much paint on your stencil and not to let the stencil move like I'm doing here. That's not what you want. You don't want it to move. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a pattern, and then we can wash over it, we can paint over it. It's, you know, however you want to finish it up. I actually love this very subtle background. I just want to paint with a little bit of Prussian blue, which is my favorite color. And I'm using the heavy body liquid Prussian. So, and it's gonna be a mixture of a wash and of a solid color. So let's see how this goes. But you know what, there's a freshness that I love. I love the background of the cerulean blue that we did use. So I'm just going to try and preserve some of those spots. So I'm not going to paint over everything. And now I'm going to use a very wet brush. Actually, I want a big soft brush. So this is, and I want clean water. So, okay. I think I'm getting organized now. So this is quite a solid color of the Prussian blue. As your brushes get older, they have few little and these are my favorite brushes, so I probably should look after them a little better. I love the colors. I don't know how, so it doesn't always work out. I don't know, the color palette is different for every painting, but I love this color palette on this painting. And a lot of water, so enough water on your paintbrushes when you lift it up and it drips off. That's also what you want. So I love what's happening there. So I'm just going to blend it in with my finger and not really touch it a lot there. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to wash this side of the painting. And now if I lift my painting up a little, I love, love, love this. And I'm not afraid if the paint runs off my canvas, I don't mind. I love it. Or even run over the imagery. I think it gives it an incredibly painterly feel. Alright. And I think that's enough for the background. And then I just want to paint my my foreground, and this is always a tricky one for me because I never know. I feel this is so busy. I just always want a little bit of a calm area. So I think what I'm going to do. This palette is dry, just so you know. I just want to add a little bit of white, and I'm just going to let this dry. Okay, so when this is dry, I want to do a little bit more detail. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to finish this painting on a live video. So we'll just see. Okay, so white paint and a little bit of green. So I'm gonna mix this color green in, and I think I just need, yeah, I like this a lot. And now I'm just basically cleaning it up a little bit. I'm not painting over everything because I still want to have a little bit of the you know, the painterly qualities visible. And I'm using quite a bit of paint on this, so you don't have to be afraid to use a lot of paint. Alright, so I'm loving this. You can, if you want to, you can paint a little bit of a shadow, but let's just leave it for now. And I just want this to dry, and then I just want to do maybe a little bit more detail. I want to finish up some of the flowers and just maybe one more thing that we can do is we can just add a little bit of paint to our flower pot, and I like to do this in impasto again, so lots of thick paint. And I'm just going to paint in between the pattern. So I'm not going to paint everything away. Might soften it a little. There you go. This is good. And while I have a little bit of paint left on my palette, I might as well just add it here and there to my flower. Okay, so I think this is good for now. It's hard. you never know when to stop painting. But I'm going to leave this like this for now, and then what I'll do is when I go live at 1 o'clock today, this is Saturday morning, by the way, I will finish this painting when I go live, and then if you have questions you can ask it on that video. If you're watching it months later, it's fine. If you have questions you can just ask it in the comments, and then I'll try to answer every question that I get. If you have any question about anything, you can just ask, and I will answer it as best as I can. But there you go. There's a few more things I want to do. I don't think it's quite done, so I just want to finish up here and there, and then but I'll do that on live on my live YouTube feed. Thank you so much for watching. So if you're watching this a few months later, just click on the video before or after it. It will be the YouTube live one, and you can just watch that video where I finish up this painting. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.